Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. My name is Gonzales, and our guest today is Tatiana Chamorro. Tatiana is the co-owner of Hite Digital out of Dallas, Texas, and is actually sitting in San Antonio, Texas today in a, just flew in an airport and is sitting in a library right now in a private room to do this webinar. So Tatiana, thank you very much for joining us, and how are you doing today?
Hi, thank you for having me, JR. I am doing fantastic. I'm very excited to be here and be sharing just how to get started with your marketing campaigns and have a successful outcome.
Great. You know, Tatiana, I know that more and more digital marketing, it's always been a thing, but it seems to keep increasing. I mean, you can tell I'm old. I mean, in my days, it was newspaper, magazine, billboards, and television. But now it seems like more and more people, advertisers, and more things are happening on digital marketing. And digital marketing is not only the way things are working now, but it's a part of the future. It doesn't look like it's going to change, and it's only going to get more and more creative. And more people, to be successful in business or what they do, need to have a better understanding of digital marketing. So that's why we're here today. And I want to thank you for joining us. And Tatiana, let me go ahead and let's get a little bit of background about you. What is Hite Digital?
So Hite Digital is a digital marketing franchise. We're the first franchise in digital marketing. And what we do and specialize in is making sure that our clients are able to be findable on Google, and that when they're paying for any form of digital marketing, they actually see a return on what they're investing.
Okay. And how long have you had this business?
So I have had my business for 5 years now. And it's, digital marketing changes all the time. So it's been changing even within the business model and the types of offerings and just how we're training our team members.
Okay. And Tatiana, I also understand that you have recently won some awards for the ability of your company to really get out there and do it, from the Dallas Advertising Federation, or what was that?
Yes, American Federation of Advertising in Dallas. I won Young Professional of the Year in 2021, and then I won Top 20 Women in Advertising in 2022. And most recently, Hite is actually an Inc. 5000 and possibly an Inc. 500 as we are in applications at the moment.
Well, congratulations. How many employees does Hite have?
We have 200 employees.
200 employees. So you definitely have some bandwidth to take care of a lot of people out there. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us, folks. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat. We have people monitoring that chat. We're not going to interrupt Tatiana's presentation, but if you have any questions, you can't hear, something's going on, let us know through the chat. We'll be monitoring that. And we'll also be making this recording available at a later date on the TAMACC website. So Tatiana, thank you so much for joining us again. I know not only are you a young entrepreneur, you're very busy, you're traveling all the time, and you're a mom. So we do appreciate the time. So go ahead, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Tatiana, and let's go ahead and get started, and let's find out about digital marketing.
Sounds good. Thank you, JR. Let's go ahead and get started. And here we go. So we're about to jump into the basics of digital marketing. And this presentation, I want everyone to know, so before we get started, where you're going to see the value here. So if you're running any ads yourself, or if you are overseeing a team that runs ads, this presentation is going to help you have enough tools and knowledge to make sure that what is being implemented is actually going to give you the best results. So, and a little bit about what we're going to see in terms of content throughout the presentation. So what to expect before we get started. We're going to be talking a little bit about how you can set up for success on any digital marketing strategy, how you can track any of the ads that you're going to be running. How much does marketing cost? Are you allocating the right amount of budget? Are you doing too much budget, too little budget? Because this can be a determinant of if you see a return on your investment or not. And then how do you measure that success? But before we get started, JR, thank you for introducing me. As a quick background on who I am, I have a undergrad in graphic design and then a combined master's in marketing. And since then, I actually founded Hite Creative, which is our creative division at Hite Corporate, and became owner of Hite Digital Dallas. I've been in marketing for the last 11 years. And as you all know, marketing has been changing quite a bit, which is why my background encompasses a little bit of the branding side and then a combination within the digital landscape. I am a public speaker, and as JR said, I'm also a mom, a real estate investor, and I love investing too in businesses. So a little bit of a seed fund angel investor myself. You can follow me on Instagram here on the QR code if anyone is interested in looking at some more tips that I share all the time about different strategies and just ideas. So let's get started with some of the items that are important so that when you start doing any digital marketing, you're actually setting up yourself for success. And I mean this in the way that it's going to be important that we determine the following really clear call to actions and items before you decide to move on to any type of strategic marketing. Now, for digital marketing, this is going to be primal, but in any form of marketing, these are also going to be elements that need to be very clear. So the first thing that I ask any of my clients is, what are your corporate goals? And how does that translate to marketing goals? Usually this goes around a conversation that we're having to determine that what this actually means. How much should acquiring a client cost you? And this is going to be extremely important when determining what your return on investment should look like and how much budget you should allocate. What is the budget in mind for your marketing? This is going to set the stage. And because anytime you're doing a digital marketing strategy, it should be a combination between the thought process and a collaboration of what the digital landscape looks like and the knowledge that your marketing team or you have within the arena. Now, I want to take a second here in the desired call to actions. The call to actions, and we'll dive a little bit more in depth on what that means, are going to be extremely important. A lot of times, this is the first mistake that I see a lot of marketing campaigns that are running. A clear call to action means that we know that we want whoever's being reached by our ads to call you, submit a form, register for a webinar, come into our office. If you don't have that clearly outlined, any digital marketing campaign that you're going to implement is going to have an outcome that you cannot track. The KPIs are not going to be clear. And that's going to be the first setting stone to determine if you actually are setting up for success or seeing a return on investment. The second component of this is going to be a trackable website or landing page. This is where the second most common mistake I see happens. What does this mean? First of all, and we'll talk a little about websites as well, but it is going to be extremely important that you have access to be tracking your website. So anyone listening in today, make sure that your website is connected to Google Analytics. And that's free. So let's take advantage of that resource that Google is providing us with that allows us to actually enable and look at the different types of traffic that is coming onto our website. The other thing that's very important is the timeline. It's going to be crucial that you determine the amount of time that you want any marketing campaign to take in order to give you the best results. Just like advertising in the newspaper or in any other form of advertisement, the result may come gradually. They could impact, for example, your brand recognition, or they could give you immediate results towards the sales and the lead generation. But it is going to be important that you tell your marketing team or that you as a marketing leader determine what the timeline should be for the results to come in. So what does that actually look like? First of all, the communication aspect is key. And I mentioned this because a lot of times I'm seeing marketing agencies or even marketing teams within a company that don't really understand or encompass their actual corporate goals of a business. So it's going to be important that we start there. Define the corporate goals, and that will then connect to your marketing goals. So what does that look like? Talk to your leaders, or as a leader, make sure that you are then communicating this so that it can be executed. And let me show you some examples here. These are some real life examples of clients that we've had of corporate goals that can then translate to marketing goals. So some of the corporate goals that can start is increase a company's valuation, create consistency on social media, acquire an X number of new clients a month, increase visibility on Google, hire more employees, increase followers or engagement, increase email subscribers by X number, bring new leads or build a sales funnel. All of these then translate into different unique forms of digital marketing strategies. So let's look at this example. We're going to be talking about a fictitious case in which a company comes and tells us, we want to increase my company's valuation, we want to acquire X number of new clients a month, and we want to increase the visibility on Google. So for the examples on the next slides, we're going to base our marketing proposal or idea on these 3 different goals that a company has. Now, the most important aspect is once you create those general goals that should be connected to the corporate goals, that we dive in a little bit further. What does that mean? Increase a company's valuation is great, but it's still very open. So we're going to be honing that into, I want to increase my company's valuation by the end of 2023 because I want to sell it. Amazing. That can then translate into marketing, digital marketing efforts. I want to acquire 10 new clients a month from my marketing efforts. Giving these numbers create KPIs so that we as a marketing agency or your marketing team can also generate KPIs that allows us to know if we're giving you the results you're looking for. I want to be findable on Google. And this one, I'm going to say it's a little bit harder and it's so vague. And it is also one of the things I hear the most, which is why it's here. So why is this important to have a successful digital strategy? Well, it then translates into digital marketing strategy. So like I said, we're going to be considering these different goals that were set up in this fictitious example, defined by a fictitious company on the goals they want to do this year. So these exact goals translate into how much should acquiring a client cost. All of these things then translate into this base that allows us to form a marketing strategy. Now, it's important a couple of things, and these are general questions that we always get asked and that you should know also. First, to be aware of them. Second, to determine and make sure that your marketing agency is keeping track of them. So let's talk about it for a second. How much should acquiring a client cost? General knowledge, but a lot of times marketing agencies or even your marketing team may not know or be conscious about this specific KPI. So make sure that you calculate this, but when you calculate it, don't only calculate on the first cost of selling a service or product to that client. Calculate the lifetime value, because then you're going to see how much it should cost. If somebody could be purchasing your product every 6 months or a monthly basis, then the budget that you allocate to acquire them should be a little bit higher. Define your timeline. Defining a timeline is important. If you need immediate results, some services will not give you that. So the timeline should make sense to your goals. Why is this so important? Because in an example, and we'll talk about this further, SEO will take around 6 months to give you the best results. So if you communicate clearly to your marketing team or your marketing agency that you need results within the next 2 months, an SEO strategy may not be the best answer to what you're needing for right now. And again, define your call to actions. And you'll see this repeatedly because it's so important that over all of these different statements and different strategy and measurable goals, we are also connecting that to an actionable action from our users, whether it is giving you a call, subscribing to your webinar, connecting with your newsletter. So in the example I gave you, the first goal is to increase a company's valuation. Now, let's talk a little bit about how much acquiring a client should cost, right? And as I said,
Tatiana, let me ask you a question here.
Yeah.
If I may. So in the digital marketing, I mean, it's just not something magical that happens by itself. When you're laying out a digital marketing strategy, you have to have some definitive goals of what you're trying to accomplish. Excuse me. So as for the listeners' benefit and for mine as well, because thank you very much, I'm learning. When you're doing it, come up with some very specific goals and then gear your digital marketing or outreach to accomplish those goals. So you at least have some measurables to know if what you're doing is working. Is that correct?
Correct. As part of the leadership team, whether you're leading the marketing team or just a company, it's going to be very important that you communicate and translate those measurable goals to your marketing team. And their role is to communicate and translate that into a marketing strategy. So in what you're seeing right now, for example, increase a company's valuation, right? Mm-hmm. In this fictitious case, the client is telling us the goal is to increase it within 2 years.
Okay.
Right.
So, and I guess that's important for everybody to know is that in digital marketing, have very specific goals that you have or objectives, and then gear your digital marketing towards that to accomplish that. Because if not, you're just wasting money.
You're wasting money, but also you're going to get frustrated. Within the next 3 months, you won't know if you're actually walking or moving towards that goal. You won't know if you're going to see a return on investment. You're going to feel like you're just throwing your money away and not having any results. Now, let me give you an example here. This is important because the increasing the valuation of a company, in this case, this company told us it's okay if it takes us 2 years. We want to sell the company within 2 years. However, they're telling us we want to start seeing results though within the first 90 days. The goal is to really increase the valuation of our sustainability from 6 months to 12 months. Now, the important thing here is that one of the services, and this is something that anybody with a background in marketing will know, one of the services in digital marketing that helps you increase the valuation of a company is SEO. So because the client told us we want to increase the valuation of our company, that to me as a marketing professional translates into SEO is going to be a good fit for my business.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk about in this example for increasing a company's valuation, right? A couple of the different things that can then translate into. And what I want you guys to look at here is how we're honing in into taking it from a general goal of increasing the valuation to then translating that into KPIs and measurable goals that connect to digital marketing, right? So in our case, that tells us we're going to focus on an SEO strategy, a very strong SEO strategy, right? That tells us that within the first 90 days, we want to see an increase in traffic into their website. So what that tells me is that the call to action that we want to have on any form of our SEO strategy would be to follow us, visit our website. Now, obviously, for example, if we want to acquire new clients, that could still connect to the strategy in digital marketing. So it would include other, for example, goals or call to action, such as buy now, call us, make a reservation. And all of this translates into how the website is being set up, because that needs to be very clear on how we navigate. Okay, so let's talk about what building the successful strategy looks like. So defining the ideal call to action. This is going to be important because a lot of businesses don't know, they read, visit us, buy now, call us, and all of that sounds great. All of that at the end of the day could potentially translate into a new client. The important thing here, and this is a big question that I ask all the time, is what do you want to accomplish? Yeah, you want to increase the valuation of a company, but as a marketing strategist, do you want us to hone in on just increasing the valuation and the visibility of your website or the brand recognition? Or do you also want to see a short-term return on investment in what you're investing in marketing? So here's very important and useful tactics that you can apply to your own marketing strategy. If you want to increase sales, make sure that you use action words and verbs like buy now, subscribe, call us, shop here, buy here, email us. These are going to be what's called actionable call to actions. If you want to increase customer database, make sure that you use words like subscribe, join, sign up. And by the way, this is something that you can use in any format of ad that you launch, but also throughout your website, or even if you're doing an organic social media. So if you're posting on your social media, make sure that all of it is consistent and connected to the actions you want users to take. A lot of times we see the mistake that there's no consistency between what we actually want potential clients to accomplish. Do we want them to subscribe? Do we want them to call us? And a lot of times the answer is we want them to do everything. Let's make sure that we hone in on maybe the top 3 goals that you have so that it's all consistent and connected and we don't create paralysis analysis, right? If you want to build online recognition, make sure that you do follow now, like now, click here, view more. This is going to help increase the brand recognition as well. I will say that for some brands and certain industries, that's going to be a better strategy than from others, which is why it's important to understand also the industry in which you're in. For example, for real estate investors that are raising capital or real estate agents, it's going to be very important that we hone in on a brand recognition so that we build authority of who they are in the field. However, for a hardware store, it's going to be less important on the authority and more important on the actual purchase of items. And that is why it's important to determine the industry you're in and how that connects to your goals. If you have a sales funnel or want to educate people, use call to actions like try this, get started, subscribe, sign up, learn more. And you'll see that a lot of these are connected between one another, but it's important that you understand if you're selecting it for different types of goals that you're setting. Let's talk about my favorite subject here, tracking. A lot of people ask, well, how do I know why are the ads that I'm looking or talking about with my husband appearing in my phone? You know, yeah, a lot of times that has to do with tracking, but the most beautiful thing about tracking is that if you're enabling it properly, you can not only see where people are navigating, you can see where they're not navigating to. And that is the most beautiful thing, because then you can update your website depending on the patterns that you are seeing. Usually this is part of an SEO strategy. It's called the user experience side of the strategy. But once you define and align your goals with your marketing strategy, make sure you're tracking properly. Here are some of the key things that you need to have in order to track properly. Connect to Google Analytics. This is the first one. It's the most basic one, and it's also free. So please, please, please make sure you are connected to Google Analytics. But more important than that, make sure that you have access to that. Because a lot of times business owners will be like, yeah, my website is connected to Google Analytics. And when we go in, they don't even know how to access it, how to read it, and it's fairly simple. Make sure all the call to action buttons are being tracked. A lot of times we'll have the join us now, call us now, but we're not actually tracking those actions and interactions. That's going to be crucial. Have a thank you page created after each action. So here, and it's actually bold on purpose, because every time I go to a website and there's a contact form and I do tests and we submit our information and it doesn't take me to a thank you page. This is a huge, very common error that businesses will make. And the reason that that is huge is because you track the amount of submissions based on the thank you page. You do that when you're building any type of Google ads, SEO campaigns, Facebook ads. We are tracking the thank you page, and that is what actually tells us the number of submissions. So that's going to be crucial. Make sure you have that set up. Make sure to test all the submission forms, especially if you're launching an ad that is taking you to a submission form. Make sure that you do test, and I would even advise test it once a week. Ensure your website loads at the right speed. This is actually a determinant on how fast you can rank on Google. The bounce rate means how many people come in and bounce out. A lot of times this will tell Google your website was not relevant for the type of search people were having or making. And so make sure that your loading speed is the correct speed, because the bounce rate will increase when your website loads too slow. And that will play a little bit against your ability to rank on Google. Make sure your website is adaptable to phone. In fact, about 90% of the searches happen through the phone. So a lot of times, if you don't have a website that can adapt into phone, you are losing on the ability of getting people to engage and click with your ads, with your website, or with your services. And if you don't have that set up the right way, you then are going to be throwing away your money when you invest in digital marketing. So if you've ever launched an ad campaign and you say, I don't know why I'm getting good results, make sure that this is enabled properly before you look at the type of campaign that you're launching. Here's a quick tip. We recommend you stay away from the following platforms to build your website, because it will take you longer to rank on Google. Wix, the worst one of all of these is GoDaddy. Just so you guys know, it will limit, in our company, for example, if you have your website built on GoDaddy, we will not do any SEO. It limits it so much that it would be almost impossible to give you results. The best platform to build your website on is WordPress. And that is one of the analysis that we actually do before getting started with any client, is where is their website built? And a lot of times marketing teams or marketing companies will make the mistake that they don't take a look at that. They'll be selling you the Google ad, they'll be running the Google ad, but they don't actually realize that the page where they're sending people to is not tracking correctly, is not showing up where it should show up, and it doesn't have all the information it needs to have. So your results may be, oh, we're getting so many leads from the Google ads, but as a business owner, you may be frustrated because you're not actually seeing the sales. This is where the sales come to be. The funneling into your website, or the landing page where you're taking people to take those actions, that's going to be the digital marketing, the Google ads, the Facebook ads, the SEO. But then when they come in, that's going to be the base, which is your website. Okay.
Tatiana, can we go back? I had a question back there, if you don't mind. I understand connecting your website to Google Analytics. Now that's free, correct? That is free. And guys, just because you're connecting, that's not the answer. Go back and analyze that information. I mean, take a look at it and see what you're doing, because that can give you just all kinds of information so you can make adjustments to your campaign. Also, you said ensure that your website loads at the right speed. So if it is moving slow, what can a person do to make their website load up quicker?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll give you 3 different things you can do. 1, make sure that any image that you're downloading into your website is not very heavy. 2nd, you can also make sure that you're not using a builder. All the ones on the right will probably make it a little bit harder for your website to load faster.
Okay.
Avoid videos. If you don't have a web developer, videos and the video is not optimized, avoid downloading it directly into your website builder. One of the best practices is to have a third party like Vimeo or YouTube, where you upload the video and then you connect that to your website. And just make sure overall that you're looking at different items, like for example, how many plugins you have. So I don't want to get too technical here, JR, but in summary, it is important that your images are not too heavy, that you don't upload videos directly to your website, and that you use the right builders.
Because as a result, it can slow down the loading. And if it's too slow, people don't even let it load. They'll just move on.
Yep.
Last question I had for clarification. You said GoDaddy was the worst. Now, GoDaddy is not the best to build a website on, but it's okay if somebody uses GoDaddy to secure their URLs or other information or other services they have. Just building a website with them is probably not the best.
Yes, great question. So there's 3 things or 3 components that come in play when having a website. The first one is what we call the domain, which would be your URL. The second one would be your hosting, which is where your URL lives. So think about real estate, right? You buy land and then you have the foundation of the house. The house is the website. The foundation is the hosting, and then the land is your URL, right? So there's 3 layers to that. GoDaddy is a great place where you can buy or purchase your URL. GoDaddy is not the best for anything else. So make sure that you purchase it there and you host it in a third party. A really good one is SiteGround. That's one of them that we use here internally, and it doesn't have a high cost. And then make sure that you build your website in a good, reliable builder. WordPress is our favorite because, like I said, allows you to rank faster. It has more of an open, it's actually an open source. So it means that it can connect to so many different techniques and tools that allows you to have flexibility as you're having a scalability in your business.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk now about the cost of advertising. There are 3 factors that affect the cost to advertise. The first one is your location, or the location where you want to target. The second one is the audience you want to reach. And the third one is the industry. Now, this will vary depending on the digital marketing service that you decide to go on with. So let's talk about Google Ads. The cost to advertising Google Ads, it is extremely dependent on the competition and the average cost of a click. What does that mean? Google Ads will charge you every time your ad shows up on Google and somebody clicks on it. So one of the jokes we have as marketers is, if you have enemies, go to their ads and click on them many times. They're getting charged for it. Now, every time someone clicks on your ad, and this is why it's important to make sure that you're doing the best to target the right audience. Because if I'm advertising for shoes, but I'm showing up every time somebody searches for private schools in my area, then my ad will be showing up. My marketing agency will be telling me that they're getting me leads, but the leads won't work because they're looking for private schools. They're not looking for shoes. And so it's important that we're doing this in a very specific way that targets the audience that are searching for the services we're selling. Now, another thing to consider, your budget, the budget in Google Ads. The way that you allocate that, and you'll be seeing here, a healthy budget is the average cost per click times 10 clicks a day for 30 days. That is how you determine that. Now, how do you know what a healthy budget is? You go onto Google and you search for the cost per click on your keywords that you want to rank. So let's say private schools. I may want to rank for private schools near me, Catholic schools, Christian schools, whatever you're looking for that determines or is relevant to the private school that you are advertising for. Google will show up all the different keywords and the average cost that it looks like to advertise for all of them. And then you calculate that. Now, in our case, our marketing agency will provide you a proposal that has all of that outlined for you so that you can have an idea. The Google ad cost is completely separate from what you pay a marketing agency. So if you have a marketing team, you would just be allocating a budget towards that. The important thing here is that when your budget is too low, you probably will not be showing up. So a lot of times we'll see agencies that will say, yeah, just do it for $300. We'll get you up there. The reality is that if you are in a competitive industry, $300 will not get you anywhere. Because the way that Google works is that people are bidding for keywords, kind of like when you're in a casino. And so based on what Google is telling you, people are bidding, you need to be able to be within that range to show up. So if you as a business owner decide to allocate less than what Google recommends, you are just paying Google without probably showing up or showing up once every 2 days, which won't get you the result you're looking for. That is why it's so important to connect to the goals and the measurable results that you want to have. Now, the quality of a Google ad is very good, fairly good. And the reason being that people go onto Google to actually search for a service, as opposed to like Facebook ads, where people, if anyone here uses Facebook, which I assume that a lot of people do, you go on Facebook, but you're not actually searching for anything. You're just looking at your friends' pictures, looking at posts, videos, and then ads pop up. So in Google is what we call that people are searching with intention. They want an answer. They want to find a provider to the service or whatever they're looking for, which is why we get better results. It is also a service that gives you faster results. You probably will start seeing results within the first 90 days, as opposed to a service like SEO, which takes around six months. Okay, I'm going to move to SEO. JR, any questions on Google Ads here, or was it very clear? Maybe anyone in the chat having questions?
No, the only question I had is when you say competitive, it can be costly, but what if you're in an industry that is not as competitive? Can you actually get away with spending less money than if you were competing in a competitive industry?
Yeah, and that is actually why these three factors on the left are so important, because the cost to advertise will be determined based on the location you want to target, the audience you're targeting, and the industry you're in. So to give you an example, I'm in Dallas, I'm from Dallas. And so the cost for a lawyer to advertise in the city of Dallas is about $300 average cost per click, which means that every time someone clicks on that ad from a lawyer in Dallas, it costs that person $300. Okay, now here's the other thing, and that's why it's so important to determine how much it should cost you to acquire a client. For a lawyer in Dallas, and specifically for some that are in an industry like, family office, family practice, or litigations, or anything like that, what they make out of that client makes it okay to invest $300 on an acquisition. Now, probably the acquisition is going to be higher because the cost per click is $300, but that's where the mathematical analysis comes in to determine the estimated budget, right? And how much it would actually cost you to acquire the client. Now, we've seen other industries, for example, a hardware store, where the cost per click is about $1 or less than $1. Now, they sell more in bulk, right? So it requires a little bit more sales on a monthly basis to see a return on investment, but the cost to advertise is so low that their budget for digital marketing doesn't need to be as high.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about SEO, and here's where a little bit of a confusion comes in. With Google Ads, when you're paying for a Google ad, your ad is showing up on Google. When you stop paying for that ad, your ad stops showing up, which means your website is no longer findable. So
okay, Tatiana, let me interrupt. I hate to do this. Okay. Remember, I'm old. SEO or SEO stands for what?
Search engine optimization.
Got it. Thank you.
And I am about to explain what that means. But before I do that, I just want to explain here on the Google Ads that a lot of times people think you're paying for Google Ads and your website is going to be showing up every time. The reason I bring this in is because once you stop paying for Google Ads, you don't show up. However, SEO is search engine optimization. What does that mean? That means you optimize your website to show up on any search engine. What's a search engine? A search engine is anything like Google, Bing, Yahoo. And so a real good compelling SEO strategy encompasses not only for you to show up on Google, but also in any other search engine, right? That's why it's so important, because at the end of the day, when you're doing a Google strategy, it is actually impacting your website, your credibility online as a business, as opposed to just showing up for advertisements for certain products, right? Now, this is important because it translates then to the valuation of your company and the digital landscape. Why? If I have, for example, a real estate firm, and my real estate firm is #1 on Google, right? And by the way, this has to be something that comes up from a search, a professional search, because if you search on your own computer, you are obviously going to be the first one because you've been searching. The algorithm already has you, as that is a website where you want to go into. So if you show up in the area you're at in the first couple of pages of Google, that means you're showing up over your competitors, which then increases your credibility, your ability to get organic leads. And organic leads is anyone that comes to your website from finding you on Google, and therefore increases the valuation. Now, the caveat with SEO is that it takes a little longer for you to have the necessary results. It is also, by the way, SEO is a strategy in which Google has never said, hey guys, this is the secret sauce to doing SEO. At Hite, we created our own methodology for SEO. We created a different type set of things that we want our team to accomplish and apply for websites to rank. And this is determinant on location, audience, and industry, but it encompasses more than just one sector. I will say Google has said that the only thing they do attribute to SEO is content creation. So if you are going to be doing any form of SEO or want your website to be ranking on Google, make sure that your website is relevant in terms of SEO content. And what does that mean? Before you ask me, JR, that means that you want to make sure that your website has keywords. What are keywords? Words that people could search for that are relevant to what you sell. That means that you want your website to have a section like blogs, that you want to be updating that. Make sure that you're intentional with those blogs so that when you are creating those blogs, they are relevant to searches other people could or may be having. Any questions? Oh, and one thing I will add is be very careful when you're hiring a marketing agency or if your team is doing any SEO strategies, because there are different types of strategies. Some of them are called black hat strategies. Black hat strategies are going to help you rank really fast. So if somebody tells you, oh, I'm going to get you ranking in less than 6 months, they're probably doing black hat strategies. And what is that? That means that they're doing, Google has, even though they haven't said, hey, this is the way in which you can do SEO, they have said, these are things you cannot do for SEO. And your website or your business may be banned from Google if Google finds you doing any of those. So usually when agencies can tell you that they get you ranking faster, the problem that you may have is that then Google could actually take away your website and ban you, which would be even worse than just waiting 6 months and ranking. Okay, JR, any questions about SEO here?
No questions on that one. I'm just kind of monitoring what's going on. We do have some questions that we'll swing back to here in a little while, but go ahead. You're doing a great job on the presentation. And I know that there's a lot of people are still holding with us, and no, just keep going. You're good.
Amazing. Okay, so another form of digital marketing. I want to say here, guys, if anyone is wondering at the moment, where is my, organic posting? Like if I want to post or boost an ad on Google or boost an ad on Facebook or whatever that looks like, or post on my Instagram, those are forms of what I call organic marketing. That is not digital marketing. Digital marketing encompasses anything that has to do with analysis of data, which means you run ads, you look at the data, and then you change the ads based on that data that you're collecting. So you could do LinkedIn ads, some other forms of paid advertisement. For us, the main ones in which we focus on is Google Ads, SEO, and Facebook ads. Now, Facebook ads usually has the least quality of leads. Now, the important thing about this is that a lot of times when we're looking at services like Google Ads, and like I said this initially, people are searching with an intention to purchase from you. With Facebook ads, a lot of times it's more lead generation. You want to make sure that people find your website, then they come to your website. Now you can have a remarketing, retargeting approach where now they came to your website, you can target them with Google ads, you can do any Facebook ads, anything like that, right? So it's a little bit of a collective strategy. Facebook ads is very successful when you want to increase a brand awareness campaign. We've also seen a lot of success when you're building ads that are specifically towards increasing employee numbers. So if you're having problems, if you're having trouble finding people to apply for job positions that you have open, Facebook is probably going to be a really good place to look at. The cost to advertise in Facebook is usually way lower than advertising on Google Ads or doing SEO. But like I said, it brings a lot of leads. I would avoid boosting any post that is actually not, as I said, digital marketing, and it can limit your ability to get good results because it lowers the ability to target and optimize based on the results. One thing I will say is when you combine Facebook ads with any other of the digital marketing services, you can get really great strategies, but be very intentional about what you want to do. If your idea is to get lead generation, and I see this with a lot of businesses that are smaller, maybe making under 500K a year, it is like turning on a lead generation campaign, right? So now you're getting 400 people to call you. If you don't have the manpower, the processes, or the funneling in place to get all of those 400 contacts and maybe close 100 of those, then Facebook is more of a lead generation campaign where the quality is going to be lower, the number is going to be higher in terms of how many people contact you. So you need to have the systems and processes in place to ensure that you're not burned out, if that makes any sense.
So it's not always about the numbers.
It's definitely not about the numbers. It is about the quality. It should, at least, right? Now, if your goal is to do more brand campaign awareness, then maybe the number is a good determinant, which is why it's so important that this connects to your goal. What are you wanting to accomplish? If you want to accomplish sales, then maybe Facebook ads may not be the best answer because it's more about quantity over quality. Okay, so any questions about Facebook ads, JR?
Well, we do have one question that, and I know it's be kind of hard to answer. They're going, so what does it actually cost, per click on some of these ads? But there again, is listen to what you're saying. That's going to vary depending on how you're doing it. So there's no, and you answered, you can answer better than I don't think there's any one set price per click. It just depends on your industry, the competition, budget, and everything else. Is that correct?
That is correct. So a lot of times, and that is the question I get, top 4 questions that I get asked the most. One of them is that, how much would it cost me? So here's what I will tell you. If you do have a marketing team, or if you're doing a marketing strategy yourself, make sure that you calculate and look at, for example, in Google Ads, because by the way, that cost will also depend on where you're advertising. Advertising on Google costs very differently than advertising on Facebook. So the first question I would have for that person that made the question is, where do you want to advertise? Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, what are we talking about in terms of platform? The second thing is, what are the location you're targeting? Who's the audiences that the audience that you want to reach? And what is your industry, right? So it's going to be important. Now, the one thing that and marketing agencies will charge differently. For us, we have a set fee. We have one fee that we charge you as a client, in which we would then take over the ads and the optimization, the creation, and everything. That is very different from determining a budget for you to allocate into Google Ads. And that Google ad budget will be determined on these: location, audience, and industry, and the platform you want to advertise on.
Okay. Tatiana, let me backtrack, because we do have this one person asking a question, and they're currently hosting their website on Squarespace. And what you said earlier, so their question is, do you recommend that they switch from Squarespace and maybe put it on WordPress to be able to go ahead and optimize what they're doing now?
So what I would say to that is, base it off on your goals. I'm not 100% sure what stage or what your goals are for the next year, but that is the first question I would have, because moving it on to WordPress may cost you more than what you want to allocate right now at the moment. So if your goal right now, if you're getting started and you have it on Squarespace, I would leave it on Squarespace until you're ready to invest in a strategy that allows you to transfer all of it into a WordPress site, right? So again, it depends on what you want to accomplish, where you're at in your business, and what the future looks like, which is why this is where we always need to start. Set your goals. Before you determine, should I be on Squarespace or do SEO? What are your goals for the next year as a company? And then how does that translate into digital marketing, right? So if in this case, based on the question you gave me, if this person or business owner or marketing leader wants to, for example, create lead generation, and at the moment they are having a lead flow or an annual revenue of 500K, I would say absolutely invest in moving it into WordPress. But if this is a business owner that's getting started, they set it up on Squarespace because it's a little bit easier to set it up, and they're not seeing a revenue yet, I would say keep it there. When you see a revenue, plan for a marketing strategy.
Okay. We do have some questions keep coming in, but go ahead and let's finish the presentation, and then we can kind of swing back and address the questions as they pop up.
Awesome. Okay, so digital marketing that isn't paid ads will not be tied to a visible ROI. This is important because a lot of people will be posting on their social media, and then they'll be saying, oh, but, and even marketing agencies will tell you, 100,000 people saw your ad. Great, but how many of those became clients? That is where digital marketing comes in. So if you are wanting to increase the number of clients, and your marketing agency or your marketing team is not asking how many of the leads they provided turned into actual paying customers, then identify if the right strategy is in place, or change the conversation so they understand that your goal is not so much about brand recognition, but sales. So here's an example. This is a platform that we provide all of our clients, and different agencies will have different ways of tracking all of this. This is just the way we do it. This is connected to your website. So in this example, you will see that from January 2022 to December 2022, this person or this business got 776 leads, right? So now the conversation with this client is around, okay, you got 776 leads, which amount to a total quotable value of 263,000. Where do we get this number from? From the client. The dashboard is actually connected. We can automate it through an API so that it's connected to their sales and quotable value, or we can actually meet with the client and they'll input this information. Now the conversation translates more into strategic marketing so that we can then connect to see if we're reaching these KPIs or goals. Now, from these 263,000, they had a total sales value of 35,000. This is interesting because they had a conversion rate of 14%. So a couple of things to look at there. Is that conversion rate up, great for their industry, or is it low? And if it is low, is it because the quality of the leads is not the best, or is it because we need then to determine if the sales department of this business needs training? Now, the beautiful thing about the platform is you can actually look at and listen to all the recordings. So if there's anyone that came from a Google ad or a organic search, the business owner can go in, and if they have somebody who is part of the sales, like a sales manager, they can listen to all these recordings and identify if there's a gap that needs to be filled in training for the sales purposes of the team. Now, another question that I get is, and in this example specifically, the client told us, I don't think that I'm getting a return on investment from my SEO. And so we went in and that we dove in a little bit deeper. 776 leads. Okay, let's talk about how many of those leads came from SEO. Where our data is showing that 319 were coming from SEO, which amounted to 183,000 in the quotable value. So from the total quotable value, 183,000 were from SEO. And the total amount of sales coming from SEO were $23,000, with a higher conversion rate than that from Google Ads. What this is telling me is that the organic SEO is giving them a higher return on investment to the client through SEO than anything doing in Google Ads. This is also telling me that they're closing more sales from the leads coming in from SEO than those coming in from Google Ads, right? It tells me that 80 of the leads came from Google Ads. Now, here's the thing. This data is amazing and everything, but we have to take action after this. Once we receive this, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to optimize our ads to see if we can increase the conversion rate and increase the quotable value from leads coming on Google? And that is where the key conversation with your marketing agency needs to be happening. Once this data is presented, we need to take action. But as a business owner, we also need to understand that the beautiful thing about digital marketing is that you get to look at this and then optimize, make changes until you are able to find the secret sauce for your industry in your location. Without this data, without the tracking, without setting the right way, when you do digital marketing, you don't collect this, and then you don't know what actually is tied to the return on investment. So from this example, 2 years of Google Ads plus SEO, total monthly investment of $2,600. Their average deal value was between $1,700 to $3,000, which means that every client that came on a monthly basis would pay between $1,750 to $3,000. And so this tells me as a marketing agency that we need to make sure we get at a minimum 2 clients every month for them to see a return on investment. So that is everything I have. You can connect with me on Instagram, schedule a strategy call. And for anyone in Dallas, we will be having a Dallas workshop. We only have a limited amount of 4 people for that. So if you are in Dallas, make sure that you submit your information there.
Well, Tatiana, thank you very much. Now, that's everything that you have for now. It's not everything that you know. That I know for a fact. And I've learned a lot. Thank you very much. I kind of missed the days when you just could buy a newspaper ad and forget about it. Now it's getting a little bit more complicated. We do have a lot of questions. We have a little bit more time before we go. So let's see if we can get to some of those questions. Let's go ahead and as I'm looking at these, Tatiana, the question was asked, and if you wouldn't mind answering that, can your firm actually help with somebody that needed to build a website or wanted to go ahead and build a website? And does your company also help with design of graphics?
Yeah, absolutely. We have as you shared initially, we have 200 employees, and all of them actually are created into different, we call hubs. And so we have a hub of SEO, we have a hub of Google Ads, we have a hub of branding and websites. And what that means is that we have a group of professionals that are dedicated to each different type of service. Now, how can you work with me? You can use this QR code or type this link in, and you can schedule a call there through my website.
Okay. And we do have a question from Mr. Lou Miller, and I'm going to go ahead and answer that for you, Tatiana. Does your company manage political campaigns as well? Lou, yes. In fact, Tatiana and I kind of teamed up in this last go around. We started working on a few little GOTV, get out the vote efforts. But if you're interested, the political arena is kind of open. We just suggest that you, if you're interested, you get started early, lay out the budget, get with Tatiana and some of her team, and be sure to be able to help you with that. I also have a question. Tatiana, do you offer internships at Hite?
That's a great question. We do. They are limited at the moment, but I personally, one of the things that I'm in a path to is become a philanthropist. My husband and I and investors were launching a scholarship at the moment with Texas A&M. So if you go to my website, tatianachamorro.com, there's a section there called the Mentorship. You can schedule a meeting with me, and that could turn into an opportunity of mentorship for you if you're starting your business, or eventually an internship.
Okay. Thank you. We also have, somebody asked, is this meeting going to be was this recording going to be available? Yeah, we'll email everybody with the recording, copy of it. It's also going to be posted on the TAMACC website, TAMACC, TAMACC.org. That'll be available there as well. We do have a question from a gentleman. They're going, if he wanted to learn how to be a digital marketer, does he need to learn everything, or can he just go with, for example, one of the elements such as Google or Google Ads? Does he need to know everything, or can he just stick to one area?
I would say, what do you want to do? When you say, I want to be a digital marketer, look at, and this is one of the things that I tell anyone every time I'm doing mentorships, is go on LinkedIn and look for people that have titles or job positions that you want to do. And then look at their track record. A lot of times and because digital marketing is changing so often, we actually launched our learning and development department at Hite. And the reason being that when I graduated with my master's in marketing in 2020, a lot of my professors had never even ran a Google ad. They didn't have a Facebook page, right? And so I came in very knowledgeable on marketing strategy, SWOT analysis, all of those different types of implementations, but lacking a little bit on understanding the complexity within the ad world. Now, that even changed within the last couple of years. So I would say determine what you want to do, look for people that are doing it on LinkedIn, and take a look at the professional background or certifications or knowledge that they've acquired to see if that's a good match for you.
Okay. Well, we are just about out of time. Tatiana, I want to thank you very much once again for taking time out of your busy schedule and actually flying into San Antonio this morning and finding a quiet public library to be able to do this recording. Good luck. I know you're about to do a presentation here for Hite. And like I said, Tatiana is based out of Dallas, but it is the digital age. Just I know we have people from all over the country have tuned into this. We even have them as far as California and Mexico City have tuned into this. So before we go, Tatiana, is there any last comments or tips that you'd like to leave with people who are interested in digital marketing and finding out more?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I hope that everyone found this presentation valuable. There's a lot of different approaches that you can have to digital marketing. Make sure that you hone in on what you want to accomplish so that you see a successful marketing strategy. And make sure that you can also identify the cost that you want to allocate. Find a reliable marketing partner that can guide you through the strategy. So as opposed to coming into a marketing agency and saying, I want to do Google Ads, tell them, I want to acquire 8 or whatever your goal is, and they should be able to guide you on the right strategy to getting there. So look at it in a different way so that that conversation, that narrative changes a little bit.
Thank you. Also, keep in mind, this is just going to be the first of a 3-part series that Tatiana and Hite Digital are doing. Tatiana, can you tell us about the next webinar that you're going to be doing, I believe, on March 1st?
Yeah, that's a very exciting one. Actually, for the person that asked about political campaigns, that could be a really good one to attend as well. We are going to be talking on how to advertise for your event. So if you're doing webinars yourself, if you are actually leading any form of physical event, like a gala or a foundation event or anything like that, how to advertise for a physical or online event in the most successful way. The reason and the most important part of that is that usually a marketing strategy will take 90 days to have the best results. With that in mind, a lot of events don't start advertising for their event, or a lot of businesses don't start advertising for the event 3 months ahead. So what type of strategy can you apply in order to have a successful digital marketing campaign for that?
Okay. And the third of your series is going to be on what? Building your brand?
Branding. Oh yeah, that's going to be amazing. And actually what I'm going to be presenting on here in San Antonio in a couple of hours, and is going to talk about how to build your authority online as a figure of knowledge within the industry that you're working.
Correct. Tatiana, thanks again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time. You have been listening to the first of the TAMACC series, and we're very excited to have Tatiana. Tatiana is going to be available for any questions. So if you have any questions, you can just go ahead and send them. We are going to be sending everybody an email that you can respond to with a link to the actual deck. If you haven't visited the TAMACC website, we're at TAMACC, TAMACC.org. You can find out a lot of information about the organization and other things that we're doing. And also, don't forget, TAMACC also has a podcast. That's the Latino Business Report. You can listen to Latino Business Report anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. And if you're not a regular podcast listener, you can just go to latinobusinessreport.com and find our episodes there. Or if you're a YouTuber, our entire library of podcasts are also on YouTube. Thank you very much. Everybody have a great day and go out there and make some money, folks.